Now, did the parties switch sides courtesy of Richard Nixon's cunning Southern strategy? The short answer is no, no. Richard Nixon did not have this Southern strategy, and the proof of it is that when Nixon was elected, the first thing he did, one of his first policies, affirmative action. Nixon invented affirmative action. And what is affirmative action? Legal preferences for minorities over whites. So think about this. Does it make any sense that a guy who's supposedly wooing the Deep South, trying to win the Southern racist Democrats over to the Republican Party, does it make any sense that that guy, the first thing he does when he comes in, legal preferences for blacks over whites? That makes no sense. That fact alone should raise your antenna, your suspicions that that is not what was going on at all. You have another case of revisionist historiography. Now, the beauty of living today is that the stuff I say is not Dinesh's history versus some other guy's history. You can check, you can verify. And so when I say things like the racist Democrats, the Dixiecrats, never became Republicans, there's a way to find out. Your phone. Call them up. As you know in the movie, I put them up on the screen. I name them. In the House, in the Senate, 150 guys, roughly. A big number. And then I count how many of the racist Dixiecrats became Republicans. In the House, one guy, Albert Watson. In the Senate, one guy, Strom Thurmond, and all the other racists stayed and lived and died in the Democratic Party. And our lionize in the Democratic Party. My wife Debbie and I were going to Washington, D.C. tomorrow. There are buildings in Washington named after them. So the notion that the racist Democrats became Republicans is a flat-out progressive fiction. But it's a fiction promoted by really smart people who know better, but are willing to lie for their cause. Case in point, the Princeton historian Kevin Cruz constantly keeps saying, Dinesh, you're wrong. The racist Dixiecrats did become Republicans. What about Jesse Helms? What about Trent Lott? What about John Tower? The what about doesn't really work because none of those guys were racist Dixiecrats. They weren't Dixiecrats at all. The definition of a Dixiecrat is either somebody who joined the Dixiecrat Party in the 40s, or somebody who voted against the Civil Rights Act of 1964. That's the conventional measure that historians use to count who is a Dixiecrat. Now, Kevin Cruz knows this. He knows that Helms was not a Dixiecrat. But he also is counting, it's called the argumentum ad ignorantium. It's the argument that relies on the ignorance of the audience. He doesn't think his students know. And this is why when I said to Cruz, listen, why don't we debate it? I'll come to Princeton University, your home campus. We'll debate in front of your own students. You'll have a hospitable crowd. Last I saw, the guy was hiding under his desk. He doesn't dare. And he doesn't dare for one simple reason. He doesn't dare because he doesn't need to. It's not just that he's a coward, he is. But he doesn't dare because he doesn't need to. He knows he has a monopoly over his students. He knows he's in a position to bully them. He knows that there's a risk that if I come on, this is the same risk that, say, Rachel Maddow would take if she put me on about fascism. This woman bloviates about fascism every day. But she won't have me on for 90 seconds because that's all it would take to expose her as a complete fraud, to show that she knows nothing about fascism at all. She doesn't even know the definition of it, or if she does, she's not letting on. Because the definition of fascism is really clear. State control over the organs of business and state control over the lives of citizens. That is the actual clinical meaning of fascism. As Mussolini put it, everything in the state, nothing against the state, nothing outside the state. Now, there's one more principle I want to talk about briefly before going to questions, and that is the concept of Gleichschaltung. Gleichschaltung is coordination, bringing the whole society into lockstep with the priorities of the Nazi Party. When I was in Nuremberg and Munich shooting the movie, I noticed that people are flying swastika flags. This is footage of Nazi Germany flying swastika flags off their balcony, doing the Heil Hitler salute. And I thought to myself, how interesting. Why are you doing the Heil Hitler salute? Hitler's not here. What are you doing? What are you signaling? And then it occurred to me, the people who did that were not signaling, we are devoted, committed believers in the Nazi ideology. No, they were signaling, we are cowardly worms who are willing to do whatever the Nazis tell us to do. You want us to go start a war, kill Jews? We're ready. Because we are such wimps that we do not dare to go against the state, to go against Nazi ideology. Now, this is what the left is attempting in America. Not just control of our behavior, but control of our minds. This is the reason, by the way, look, they have academia, most of it. They have the media, most of it. They have Hollywood, all of it. You think that'd be enough? No, they want the NFL. Bunch of guys running with the ball. They want those guys. They want the Boy Scouts, and they got them. They want the Christian baker. Let's force him to bake a cake. And if he goes to the Supreme Court and he wins, let's sue him again. Let's destroy his life. Why? Not just because we're mean people, we are, but let's destroy his life so everybody else can see what we did to him, so they will be scared. They won't dare not to bake a cake. Ultimately, they will give in. They will become the cowardly worms we want them to become. They will fly the swastika flag off their balcony. And so my message to you ultimately here is not just about truth, it's also about courage. To stand up against this nonsense, not to put up with any of it, to recognize that this is an effort to beat you into being a worm, an intellectual worm whose thoughts are controlled. Don't give in to it. Ultimately, be Socratic, be independent, be willing to stand up for your beliefs, check things out, verify them for yourself. At the end of the day, liberate your mind. Thank you very much.